Hello everybody, this is Chris Barin and it's time for another video review, another website design that has to be reviewed. This has been sent by a student called Roy in the Discord chat. The link is in the description. This is the channel Review My Work. I constantly get websites and all sorts of things that I'm supposed to review. This particular design, it could have been great. It's something like a beautiful ice cream sandwich, with chocolate and vanilla. But then the designer went ahead and sprinkled mustard on top of it. Why mustard? Well, let's take a look at the PSD and you'll understand why the designer completely ruined an otherwise beautiful design. So this PSD is actually horrible. Let's have a quick look. So first of all, by glancing at the layers panel, what's the first thing that strikes you? By the way, this is the original PSD. I have not modified it in any way. Yep, so there's no groups. This is the first thing that's really gonna strike you. I'm not really sure why, in every single course I really push for the groups and organizing PSD files, but this particular PSD is a train wreck, right? Then another thing, you can see all these outer glows right here. I think these are these stars that are sprinkled across the design. Yeah, so what you have to do, and what I teach in my courses, is that you select all of them. I just use Shift, by the way, and then click on this arrow and everything has been collapsed. Click again and that's going to be expanded. So just a simple mouse click, nothing else, no other hotkey. And then obviously Control G and that's it, right? So this is extremely easy. So I'm not really sure why the designer did not take a few minutes to actually organize it, especially when he actually sent it for the review. He was quite excited to get the review. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be all that nice because this is just the beginning. Let's have a quick look at the canvas width, and it's 1600, 1920. No, it's 1367. Why that's the case, I have no idea. This is not standard by any measure. I'm not really sure why he chose this particular size, but it doesn't make any sense. So that's another big mistake right there. Then let's have a look at the guides. We can see there's another one on the left side. I'm not really sure why that's the case. Let's check the active area. If you've been following my courses, you should know that we have basically three choices. It's 1960, 1100 or 1200, and he chose 1100. That's pretty good, but you can see this particular text layer is outside the bounds. Next, the logo is left aligned, but these are not left aligned with the logo. Control 1. So this is a glaring mistake. You can see it without any guides that these are not aligned, but even more so the fact that when you select them individually and then you left align them, you can see that even those elements were not left aligned. So that's really disappointing, right? I just did an undo with Control Z, by the way. So that's yet another mistake. But now let's continue. First of all, let me unlock some layers because for whatever reason he decided to lock them. And then let's select this girl. So we have quite a few photos here, right? We have this girl, we have yet another one, this guy right here, and then some icons. So at a first glance, these look beautiful, right? These look great. But then let's have a quick look at this hero section, which you should probably know that it's really important that the hero section is well laid out and well thought, because this is the first thing the client sees. If this particular area doesn't get enough attention to detail, if this area doesn't get enough love, this is gonna completely sidetrack you. You're gonna get 1 star or 2 stars, or worse, even get eliminated if you don't pay enough attention to it, right? But just have a quick look. First of all, the gradient. This is a rasterized layer that's been clipped. Again, if you've been watching my courses, you should know this is not the correct way to go about it. So I have no idea why he chose a rasterized layer, because there's no way to actually control it, right? If I want, say, a green shade or an orange shade, whatever, if I want any change, he will not be able to execute it correctly, right? Even more worrying is the fact that he chose an opacity level totally at random, 88%. So again, in my Photoshop courses, I never tell you to, do something like this, right? You actually are instructed to use your numeric keys and do something like this: 6 for the 60%, 8 for the 80% or whatever, right? But now let's continue. Let's actually disable this and have a look at this particular photo. So this has had a Gaussian blur filter applied to it, but it's actually a rasterized layer. So again, you have no control over it. If you want to disable it or if you want more blur, you can't do it because he didn't actually use the proper technique. And you know, this particular part right here, this is again a huge mistake. You never want soft edges like this. What you want to do is actually get a sharp edge like so. So again, this is really disappointing because in terms of execution, we have loads of mistakes here, right? We have this part right here, we have this part right here. So things that aren't actually aligned correctly. You know, we have rasterized layers all over the place. And speaking of rasterized layers, let's have a quick look at these icons. It's really so frustrating, you know, because at the first glance they look okay, but where are the colored versions? You know, what you have to do is when you import a graphic like this, first of all, it has to be a smart object, right? That's the number one thing. You have to import it as a smart object. And then what you want to do is you want to apply a black and white filter, and then you want to clip it, right? So when it's time to actually export and, you know, create the fully functioning website, what you can do is just disable it. And now you have both versions without any headaches, right? So this is not the case here. These are permanent and we don't have the colored versions. But even more so, if you actually take a good look at this one, you can see it's actually pixelated. This has been distorted. This has been enlarged. And since it's a rasterized layer, you know, you can actually see the pixels. You can actually tell that this is low quality. So it's really a shame, right? It really doesn't make that much sense. And we have multiple problems here, you know, with these small arrows, and these are the bigger ones and they have a different treatment. You know, I love this part right here, but you know, this area, this line does not actually align. So again, we have this particular line right here, right? Whatever, let's make it red or whatever. And then it doesn't actually align. So that's a pretty big mistake. But, you know, leaving the execution aside, you know, maybe he doesn't care, maybe whatever, right? Let's say that everything is spot on. If you actually take a good look at the hero section, and you know, if I'm gonna remove the logo, could you actually tell what this is about? Because if I'm looking at this particular shade of blue and this particular gradient and these stars, I'm actually thinking about something along the lines of refrigerators, ski resorts, or whatever. This particular gradient, this particular shade of blue is very cold, right? So it has no place with, it has nothing to do with cleaning. I can understand that the stars should imply some type of sparkling effect or whatever, but this is totally off base. The girl is in red. She's hot, literally, because red is actually a hot color. And then the contrast with this particular gradient is so dramatic, so out of place. It doesn't really make that much sense, right? And then moving on down, we have this particular shade of yellow and yellow and yellow and yellow. So there's just too much going on right here. There's too many bright colors and everything is thrown out of balance. Yeah, it's really disappointing because, you know, this part right here, this is actually lovely, right? So this particular section is bang on, and this particular section is again very nice. You know, I'm really worried about the fact that these may be freebies, that these particular sections may have been freebies from other websites. So that would be quite worrying if that was the case. And I'm saying that because, you know, there are all sorts of inconsistencies here. This typeface here doesn't make that much sense. Here as well, it's unbalanced. It's, you know, you should have placed something on the left side. But, you know, again, leaving everything to the side, it's a really disappointing design. It could have been something far better with just, you know, a bit of attention to detail, with a bit of love. But the simple fact that you didn't create a single group tells me everything. You have to rewatch all my courses, because these are glaring execution mistakes and I can't really help you unless you help yourself. I mean, there's so many things that you've gone wrong here. in the layers panel in terms of, the blurring and the effects and whatnot, the increased size, the wrong format and whatnot. So I really suggest you rewatch my courses. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm sorry if I wasn't that eloquent. It's really late here in Romania, but I promised I would do more video reviews, so this is it. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon, hopefully a bit more well rested. Thank you.